all of these countries mentioned are heavily compromised at army and governmental levels. You know, you could not have such major efficiency if you didn't have cooperation from all the people.
So why did multiple American presidents use the military and the CIA to support, as needed, people like Manuel Noriega and by extension the highly destructive international cocaine business? The most well-known part of the answer lies in the little speck of a country, Nicaragua, and the motley group of right-wing military, hustlers, and killers known collectively as the Contras. People ostensibly dedicated to a counter-revolution against the socialist government of Nicaragua.
Look at all the priests involved right now in Nicaragua. Father Escoto, he was a Sandinista.
There's no smoking gun evidence that the CIA or disgraced Marine Oliver North handled cocaine or collected cocaine money themselves, but what they did do was to allow international cocaine smuggling organizations to bring in huge loads and turn a blind eye, or in some cases offer logistical support.
It is by now undeniable that the same planes that were carrying arms from Panama into Costa Rica were also carrying drugs.
This operation essentially gave Manuel Noriega the assurance that they would turn a blind eye to his continued brokering of cocaine deals for using his network to get the arms to the Contras.
Dark Alliance author Gary Webb discovered that as early as September '81, CIA agents in Nicaragua specifically informed CIA headquarters in Virginia that the Legion of September 15 Contra group, led by Enrique Bermudez, which was the strongest of the Contra factions, had moved into cocaine trafficking.
My name is Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist. I've been an investigative journalist for about 25 years for daily newspapers. The cocaine that was being sold in those neighborhoods was coming from mainly one source, and this one source was being used to finance a guerrilla war in Central America.
When Gary Webb published his Dark Alliance series, the African American community, being the group that suffered most of the damage of the crack cocaine epidemic and the war on drugs and the drug wars in America's inner cities, immediately latched onto the story and created a political firestorm.
And others at one of these Contra meetings that were going on all over California.
Today, there's not a black gang in the city or the county that's not involved in narcotics.
Street sales of cocaine took place mostly in black neighborhoods. Violent crime and mass incarceration soon followed.
Kids as young as 12 years old carry beepers. They're connected to drug dealers with mobile phones who call them to make deliveries of crack cocaine. The dealers know that even if these kids are busted, they won't get any jail time because they're minors.
You know why you're doing this? No?
I know why, but I wish not to even talk about it. Lieutenant Bob Rukoff is head of criminal intelligence with the Los Angeles Police Department's CRASH program, a program to suppress gang activity in the city.
I'm talking about a lot of people that are running around out there with sophisticated weapons that are providing security and protection for the money and the narcotics that's out there on the street. I'm talking about exporting this trafficking not just throughout LA County or even Southern California, but all over the western half of the country, and moving tons of cocaine. And if that's not organized crime, then I'm not a cop.
With the Republicans back in charge of Congress in '86, they started giving Ronald Reagan funds to give to the Contras again, and this illegal drug smuggling wasn't needed, so Oscar Blandón was indicted. He finally pled guilty to cocaine smuggling charges all the way in 1992. Oscar Blandón was not a U.S. citizen or national, and he's the only known foreigner in U.S. history to not be deported following conviction on drug trafficking charges. The INS even granted Blandón a green card despite his criminal convictions to allow him to work for the DEA. The DEA has said that Blandón is no longer on its payroll and his whereabouts are unknown. The CIA is, for the most part, unrepentant for its actions in Latin America, despite admitting that most of this is true. Dwayne Dewey Claridge was the Latin American station chief in the early 80s.
According to the Truth Commission and a whole swathe of human...
Come on, John. This is where we're going. You're wasting my time. That's all bullshit.
On Christmas Eve, 1992, George Bush pardoned Dwayne Dewey Claridge, who had been chief of the CIA's Latin American division.
Those people all had agendas.
So it was bullshit that the Salvadorian military were murdering tens of thousands of people.
I bet you can't count more than 200 in the whole 10 or 12 years.
Gary Webb's Dark Alliance was a classic conspiracy theory. He was discredited and almost laughed out of journalism until the CIA itself admitted it was all true. Gary Webb died of 2 self-inflicted gunshot wounds to the head in his own home on December of 2004.
CIA, Oliver North, whole factions of the U.S. government are caught red-handed. They're caught red-handed and they're exposed, as Oliver North was, many times in the media, as Central Intelligence has been caught many, many times. They've been called on 60 Minutes, the head of DEA called them drug traffickers.
According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard.
And what reason did the CIA have for promoting this drug smuggling?
Well, the only rationale that's ever been offered is that this would lead to some valuable drug intelligence about the Colombian cartels.
The CIA and the Guardia Nacional wanted to let cocaine go on into the traffic. I guess they thought they were going to get Pablo Escobar at the scene of the crime or something, which I found personally ludicrous.
On Christmas Eve, 1992, George Bush pardoned Dwayne Dewey Claridge, who had been chief of the CIA's Latin American division.
Yeah, my wife was there in the limo with Gary Webb and the guy from AIM, Accuracy in Media, and he leaned over and he said, "We got plans for your career," he said to him. And Gary was already feeling the footsteps. He was depressed as hell.
Gary Webb's Dark Alliance series was considered a classic conspiracy theory until the CIA itself admitted it was basically all true. Here's a quote from the CIA Inspector General, specifically responding to Gary Webb's Dark Alliance series. Let me be frank about what we are finding. There are instances where CIA did not, in an expeditious or consistent fashion, cut off relationships with individuals supporting the Contra program who were alleged to have engaged in drug trafficking activity. This is the official comment from the CIA itself for anyone left who thinks this is a conspiracy theory.